of me is Richard Koo. Richard Koo is a senior level designer. In addition to creating campaign missions, he also implemented all the AI difficulty from easy to brutal. So if there's anyone out there that had a hard time playing a mission on brutal difficulty, you now know what the guy looks like. And next to Richard is Jason Huck. Jason Huck is a very talented level designer of ours that created many of our campaign missions. You might recognize some of his work from defending the colonists against the Protoss Purifier mothership, to possibly meeting Tosh for the first time on the lava world, and you're playing Greed and you're fighting the Zerg and dodging the lava. Or maybe you remember his work from when he was punking down mercenaries and collecting scraps with the Vulture. And next to Jason Huck is Matt Gocher. Matt Gocher is another talented level designer of ours. In addition to creating campaign missions, he was also the one that implemented all the tech purchase videos, the research videos, and the mercenary videos. And next to Matt Gocher is Justin Clinshew. Justin is our data specialist, and he and the other data specialists work inside the data editor, which is a part of the StarCraft 2 editor. And if you're not very familiar with what this is, please stick around because he's going to be talking about this pretty shortly. And so shortly after we had launched the Wings of Liberty campaign, we changed focus. We've always been a big fan of supporting the community, and we wanted to continue the support. And so we felt the best way we could do this from a level design standpoint was to create custom maps. And I'm here to tell you that we didn't create custom maps just to compete with the community. We actually really love what the community does. We get excited every day when we go on Battle.net and we're kind of going on to custom games and we're seeing what you guys are doing. And that really, it really makes it exciting for us. But the real goal for us is really to improve the editor, the tools that you guys are using to make the custom maps. And so how we started this process is I grabbed all these guys and we went into a room and we started talking about game types. So we started asking, what do we think was popular on Battle.net? We started talking about the things that we really enjoy. And so we would start writing things down, like what about a puzzle map, or what about tower defense? So we'd write TD up there, Hero Arena, a Dota map, RPG maps, right? So we just kept on talking about this list of game types. Because the next process was, I told these guys that they need to create a custom map. And the focus of the custom map was really to pick apart a part of the editor that we wanted to focus on. Example of this is custom heroes and custom abilities. We wanted to know how difficult it was for you guys to create custom heroes. So we had to make sure that one of the custom maps was using custom heroes. Another example was the inventory system. It's not something we got to use a whole lot during the Wings of Liberty campaign, so we wanted to take a closer look at this and make sure that one of the custom maps was using the inventory system. Another thing we wanted to do was work on the custom dialogue buttons. This is basically allows you guys to create your own custom UI. It's not entirely new to the StarCraft 2 editor. We did have this with the Warcraft 3 editor, but it was really hard to use, and it was very difficult, and so we didn't see a lot of people using it. And so we made sure that we focused a little bit this time with StarCraft 2, and by creating a custom map that was using this, we figured we could start generating a more list of ideas to improve. So now that you guys understand why we're creating custom maps, we're going to take you a little bit down the road as to how we approach the design of these custom maps. So the first thing that we focused on was really the fun factor. The fun factor, if you're not sure, is basically the mission mechanic or the game mechanic. This is what drives the game. This is like the focal point of your map. This is really what the player expects to be doing when they play your map. And the reason why it's really important to find this fun factor quickly is you need to concentrate all your energy into this fun factor, right? Because as a creative map maker, I know you guys have a lot of cool ideas that you want to put into your map. And if you start trying to cram too many different game mechanics or fun factors into it, really what happens is you start diluting the fun. As something that we say here at work all the time, which is concentrated coolness. So if you could get your map up running quickly, not worry about all the polish or the tuning yet, just really find the fun factor and build your map around that. The next thing I want to talk about is easy to learn. Before you use a picture of a tutorial, because we spent a very long time creating a mission that taught a person that's never played an RTS before how to play just very basic, they're very simple, right? It's like selecting units, moving a unit, attacking a unit, building a unit. It's very simple stuff. But the point I'm trying to make here today is that you guys don't get to create a map to teach a person how to play another map, right? You have game experience about 35, 45 minutes, and you really have about 2 minutes to teach a person how to play your map. I don't know if you guys have ever jumped on to Battle.net and you've tried a custom map you've never played before, and you're kind of fumbling around for 3 minutes, 4 minutes or so. You probably already lost this map, and you don't get the defeat screen until another 25 minutes later, and you're probably pretty frustrated at this point. Chances of you going back to play that map are going to start sliding. So as map makers, I know you guys really want to have people to come play your map over and over again, because that's what, that's the thrill, that's what we get out of making these maps. An example of easy to learn is a tower defense game type. It's very organically teaches a person how to play in a really easy way. If you're not sure of what a tower defense is, it's pretty simple. You start the map, and there's one unit. Usually you have an option to build 1 tower or 2 towers, and there's a countdown timer, and it's ticking down. So as a new user, you place 1 tower down, and all of a sudden the timer goes to 0, and a wave of units come running out, and this tower kills everything. So as a new user, you figured out real quickly, I build towers, it kills units. When the timer hits 0, more units come out. So this is just something to think about when you guys are working on your maps, to really think about that first 2 minutes and how to slow down the information and slow down the gameplay so that the person has a lot of fun, because if that happens, the chances of them coming back to play it are going to keep increasing. Another thing I want to talk about is feedback. Feedback is incredibly important for any development of any game or any mission. This is basically at the point where you think your map is done and you're kind of figuring, what do I do now, right? This is the point where I tell you that you need to go actively go online and start looking for feedback. Battle.net produces or allows you to publish maps for people out there to go ahead and start getting direct feedback. Another way to do this is to get online and start doing searches on the internet. If you start doing searches for StarCraft 2 custom maps, I guarantee you there's tons of websites out there with people just like you creating maps who are wanting to share their knowledge, right? Because as people start sharing their knowledge and giving this information to each other, that means the quality of these missions are going to start going up. So when you go into Battle.net, the experience you're going to have there playing these maps are going to start getting better and better. So, this is the point where you really need to get feedback, and you really need to actually act upon that feedback. You need to sit there and make changes to your map based on the feedback. Don't just think your map is the greatest thing ever. I mean, these people are wanting to talk about your map, so really listen to what they have to say and make changes based on that, and I guarantee your map will start getting better and better. Now, I know I've kind of gone through this real quickly, and the reason is because I didn't want to steal the thunder from these guys. They spent a lot of time making these maps and a lot of hours, and they're very excited to show it today at BlizzCon. And they're really more excited if you guys come up after this discussion and start asking questions. So please make sure you guys hit these guys up, because they're really excited to talk about their maps. Without further ado, this is Richard.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard. For those of you who don't know, I used to be a Warcraft 3 modder under the handle of Missing Tooltip, and I used to make maps like Extreme Candy Wars and Skibby Tower Defense. Thanks, guys. I'm here today to talk about the design process I used to make my latest mod, Left to Die. Left to Die is a cooperative version of the campaign mission I'm sure you guys have played, Outbreak. In Outbreak, the player had to defend against infested civilians, aka zombies, at nighttime, and then during the day, press out and destroy the infested structures. After we shipped the Wings of Liberty campaign, we received a lot of really positive reviews, whether it was magazines or forums or my friends telling me that they really liked this mission. And they all had one thing to say in common. They love killing zombies. So, going off of what Matt said about focusing on the fun factor first, I decided to make special zombies. It's kind of obvious, but I drew a lot of inspiration from Valve's first-person shooter Left 4 Dead. In Left 4 Dead, the special zombies actually had a lot of personality quirks that led to really memorable gameplay moments. However, for design and legal reasons, I couldn't just copy-paste them into my map. I had to StarCraft their design. For instance, there's a fat zombie creature called a boomer in Left 4 Dead that would sneak up onto your character and explode, doing all sorts of really nasty stuff. That works really well in a first-person shooter, but not so much in a real-time strategy game where you have so many different units that can see all around them, and they automatically fire at anything that moves. So I had to change the design to make it my own. I repeated this process a couple times until I had my own little army of special zombies, and then I thought it would be really cool to reward the player for killing them. That's when I invented Zerg Biomass. Zerg Biomass, in a nutshell, is a resource that you collect and you unlock technology with. Now, I'd like to go over some of the design behind Zerg Biomass because I think it really sheds some light as to how we design things. You get Zerg Biomass when you destroy special zombies or when you destroy infested structures. That's really important because when you destroy special zombies, that happens pretty much automatically at nighttime. And when you destroy infested structures, that's when you press out during the day. That means that a new player who isn't quite sure how to play the game and to push out and destroy the infested structures, they'll always be guaranteed a small amount of Zerg Biomass to unlock technology. When they do unlock the technology, you actually unlock it for not only yourself, but your ally as well. This is important because you don't want people to feel like they're competing with one another. That would be bad. And finally, Zerg Biomass is a tradable resource. That's really good because it allows players to sort of communicate what their research goals are, and also they'll feel really smart when they pool their Zerg Biomass together in order to get the more expensive technology such as Reavers and siege tanks. Now, I have my own I've designed a new army of special zombies, and I've got a cool new third resource. You think that I could just slap it into Outbreak and add a second player slot, but that's not really the case. Real-time strategy games are very complicated games, so one thing that I wanted to do is simplify the gameplay and really think about designing for everyone. Ultimately, when I designed Left to Die, I wanted to make a game that my wife and I could play together. My wife is a very avid gamer, but she doesn't like real-time strategy games, but it doesn't mean she doesn't like to play games with me. So you can understand why this is an important topic for me. When you play Left to Die, you actually get an intro cinematic that explains why the player's there, what the player is doing, and it lets the story from the campaign sort of drive the action and motivate the player with what he's doing. The other thing that you'll notice when you play Left to Die is that there's 4 difficulty levels that you see from the campaign, whether it's casual, normal, hard, and brutal, so players can pick the experience that's appropriate for them. That about wraps it up for Left to Die, but I'd actually like to say one more thing for all of you aspiring modders out there because I used to be in your shoes. I would really focus on new player experience. I can't stress this enough. There's so many mods that I've played out there that are just too difficult to play, and a lot of people just don't have the same patience I do. They'll just quit your game, and they'll never give you another shot, because they're sooner going to blame you for bad gameplay decisions rather than think about, oh man, if only I had tried a little bit harder. You have a lot of tools to really teach new players how to play your game. Really go that extra mile, and whether it's loading screen tips, cinematics, dialogue tips, like hints, the choice is yours. Without further ado, that's it for Left to Die. I'd like to now turn it over to our resident Vulture pilot, Jason Huck, who will talk to you about Iron Chef.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, so a little bit of trivia there in the StarCraft 2 universe. My evil twin brother is the Vulture pilot, which is the little hover bike that you use in the mission Cutthroat. So anyway, I'm actually here to talk to you about Iron Chef. So you're probably wondering, what is Iron Chef? I mean, really silly name. What exactly is this mod? So Iron Chef is a competitive game for 8 players. It's a collection game. You play as a Protoss zealot warrior chef skilled in the arts of cooking and killing, and you travel around Ire gathering ingredients. The game is played over 3 rounds. Each round is a theme ingredient, and you use these theme ingredients to make recipes that then score you points. At the end of the game, the person with the highest score is the winner. Pretty simple explanation for it. So really what I want to talk about next is the inspiration for Iron Chef, and that sort of came at the end of, as we were working on the Wings of Liberty campaign, I was looking through the editor, and I found a bunch of food objects that had sort of appeared in there, and I was like, oh, don't know what these are for, but I was sort of looking at them, and I was thinking, oh, it wouldn't be funny to make a mod with these using a zealot and have, I had this fantasy of him running around Ire, stabbing this food and impaling it on his side blades and running back to a kitchen area and making these really weird dishes similar to the things that are made on Iron Chef, the television show. So I was like pitching it to some of the other designers, and Rich and Mike Heiberg came up with the name of Iron Chef. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. It's a play on the name of Iron Chef. I was like, so I got to make this mod. So it wasn't shortly before I had a playable version up, and I sent it out to the rest of the team, and I got some feedback on it. And I mean, there were lots of iterations that had gone on the map, and a lot of feedback that came back, and a couple of the things that we really worked on were, well, the first thing that we worked on was with the gameplay itself. At first, it was a very game where you just ran around, collected these ingredients and everything, but people really wanted to fight one another more. There wasn't a lot of ways that you could directly conflict with one another. So I added some special abilities and some power-ups that allowed players to sort of mess with each other more while they were playing. This had a little more dynamic gameplay elements to it and let people mess with one another, but it wouldn't directly let you kill each other or anything like that, but it still let you hinder each other, maybe stun them or slow them for whatever reason. The other major iteration of the map was with the UI, and this is one of the things I intended to really learn about in our editor because I didn't get to play with it that much in the campaign, is that was with custom UIs. And so the dialogue triggering system is really complex, but it was a really great challenge to make this very static UI, which had a lot of information on it, actually dynamically update itself as you played the game. So you would pick up ingredients and the UI would show you, okay, you have 1 out of 2 or 2 out of 2. And whenever you had enough ingredients to make this specific dish, you would then you could take it back and turn it in to score a lot of points. Those were a couple of the major iterations that were made for the map, but there are a lot of other things that we also looked at while working on the map, like the inventory system and the scoring leaderboard, a lot of little bug fixes and other major feature changes to them. So all that stuff will be coming to the mod map community in the future. So that's it for Iron Chef, actually. I'm going to hand it over to Matt Gocher now for Blizzard Dota.
Blizzard Dota. The inspiration for this map goes all the way back, actually, to the original StarCraft. Perhaps you guys have heard of a map called the Aeon of Strife. This is the map that really started everything. It spawned a whole genre of mods, including, of course, the immensely popular Dota map in Warcraft 3. Now, inspired by Dota, we wanted to create one of our own, and thus Blizzard Dota was born. For those of you that are not familiar with this kind of game, what you have are 2 giant opposing armies locked in never-ending combat. They are evenly matched, though, so no side is gaining ground. Then you throw in 5 players on the left, 5 players on the right, and they each control a hero for their side that they use to tip the balance of the battle in their favor. And of course, with your hero, you get experience, you level up, you gain new skills and abilities, you can purchase powerful items, and you become better and stronger the better that you play. These games can actually be a really refreshing change of pace from the standard RTS experience because you only have one thing to worry about, your hero. And for Blizzard Dota, we wanted your hero to be someone really special. So we were just sitting around and we were like, wouldn't it be cool if you could actually play as an iconic Blizzard character like Zeratul and square off with the Blade Master? Or who wouldn't love a fight between Kerrigan and Sylvanas? It's kind of like Super Smash Brothers or Marvel vs. Capcom in this regard. You actually get to play as the characters that you've gotten to know and love over the years. We've got, real quick here, a short little video showing our new hero selection screen that we created entirely using trigger dialogues. Check it out. We've got 12 heroes so far that you can play. In this screen, we'll show you a little description of them. It will show you stat bars, so you get kind of an idea of what they're all about. And it will also show you who has picked which hero, not only on your team, but also on the enemy teams as well. And again, let me say this entire screen was done using our trigger dialogue system. So everything you see up there, you can absolutely put in your own custom maps. And that's actually true with everything that we've created for Blizzard Dota. The heroes, the new spell effects, new icons, new doodads, everything we've made, you guys will all have access to and be able to use in your own maps. So perhaps even more exciting for us than releasing Blizzard Dota is seeing what you guys will actually go out and create. Now, it wasn't just me that was creating Blizzard Dota. There was a whole bunch of people that helped out. There was, artists, programmers, QA. I mean, a truly enormous number of people came together to help bring this map to life. And with all of those hands on the map, there was a lot of feedback. I mean, an absolutely enormous amount of feedback that was given. Everyone had something, that they wanted to say. Oftentimes it was worded nicely, but sometimes it was actually quite harsh. But there's something that I want you guys to, to take back with you about feedback. Anytime someone's giving you feedback, about anything, they're doing it because they care about your map. Otherwise, they just stop playing and never look back. But they're taking the time to give you feedback. So it's a really great opportunity for you to improve your map. And to be sure, it can be quite overwhelming at times, especially if you've got a map that's starting to get popular. But it's really the key to everything. Taking people's feedback, taking their comments seriously, and iterating on your map. If you can keep doing this, then before you know it, you'll have a really fun, really cool, really polished map to show for your efforts. Finally, I want to remind everyone that what you see here at BlizzCon of Blizzard Dota, it's just a preview. We're still very much hard at work on this map. We're continuing to create lots of new heroes, add new features, and work on improving the balance. In fact, we're learning a ton just from watching you guys play it here at BlizzCon. It's actually really exciting for us because we really care about feedback from the community and what you guys think. Now I'd like to turn it over to Justin Clinshew, our resident data specialist on the panel, to talk about the data editor.
Thanks, Matt. I'm Justin Clinshew. I'm one of 4 data specialists on the StarCraft 2 team. The job of the data specialist is to take all the ability and unit ideas that designers come up with, bring them to life using the functionality provided by the programmers, and then hook it up to the assets made by the artists. And we do all of this using the same editor that you guys have at home. One of the great features of our StarCraft 2 engine is the actor system, which allows you to modify and combine art assets. This is incredibly useful to us when we're trying out new ideas for units and abilities. For instance, when Rich started working on Left to Die, he asked me to set up some units that worked like the zombies in Left 4 Dead. Like Matt was saying earlier, it's really important to prove the fun first. So rather than go to the artists and have them spend all this time working on art for units that we didn't even know would work yet, I was able to just grab art that was already existed in the game and tweak it a little using Actor, just enough to convey the concepts behind these units. Then, once we knew the fun was there, then we could show the artist something tangible in game, and this gives them a much better idea of what the requirements are for the art than just simply describing the unit to them. Another great advantage of Actor is if you don't have the time or resources to create your own assets, you can use the data and triggers to transmute the assets we provide for you into something new and unique. What I want to show you are some things that you may not have thought possible in StarCraft 2. All of these videos were captured from maps that I set up using the same editor and assets that you have at home. One of the easiest ways to customize art for your mod is to use tint color. Here's a unit I set up that I like to call the Rainbow Archon. He's set up to constantly cycle his tint color, and also his portrait is doing the same thing because it's running off the same actor messages the unit is. He's also got a chain lightning attack that has a different color for each jump. And you'll notice that his main attack beam is also cycling color in sync with the unit. And he can do this. Another awesome tool for creating great visuals is the missile mover system. One of the underused features of this system is something called Power Slide, which allows you to configure missiles that will drift when making sharp turns, kind of like a race car. I configured these missiles so that they can only turn slowly at first, which allows them to be juked by their fast-moving targets. And I think this really shows off the Power Slide. The mover system is so dynamic that you can even use it to make effects that don't even look like missiles. We really love playing all the maps you guys make, and we can't wait to see what you'll come up with next. It's important for us, for you guys, to have the best possible tools, and that's why the custom maps forum is so important to us. It lets us know what you guys need. One of the things that we saw people asking for a lot on this forum was the ability to track the mouse position through triggers. Currently, when a player clicks the mouse button, you can get coordinates, but that's not enough to do things like Diablo-style movement, where you want a player to hold the mouse button down and have their character move in the direction of the cursor. Or another case might be if you wanted to set up a turret that tracked the mouse position. Well, we've managed to implement this feature, and you'll be able to use it as soon as 1.2.0 goes live. Here's one last video to show off this new feature in action. As you can see, I've set up this Immortal so that his turret tracks the mouse. When you hold down the left mouse button, he'll fire, and I also set him up to move using WASD. I think the combination of these two makes for some interesting gameplay.
So that's it for the StarCraft 2 custom maps and editor discussion panel. Now we're fielding questions.
Thanks, guys. They're coming right up. Come on up.
I got my notes here on my phone, sorry. All right. After hearing at BlizzCon 2009 that there was going to be an opportunity for mappers to make premium maps and sell them on Battle.net eventually, I got pumped and I put a team together, and I've been wondering two things. When is the marketplace going to open up, first of all? And also, are there any plans to raise the 10 megabyte map limit? Because my team has really been limited by that 10 megabyte limit.
Good question. The marketplace is actually still on the list. This is something that we've been looking at. I know it's been something we kind of mentioned a while ago, but we don't want to just throw something out there. We're looking at all the different angles and making sure that we're doing the right thing. And it is coming. I just don't know when it's going to happen. As far as the limitations, yeah, that's something we've been looking at it ourselves. Don't know, once again, when that's going to be fixed, but we felt it internally. This is part of the process of us making these custom maps, is we came across the same thing. So we've been talking with Battle.net. We're trying to figure out what we could do.
Hey, so from what I've seen so far with the Blizzard Dota, it looks fantastic, but what I was thinking is one of the reasons Dota is so popular and has lasted so long is the constant balance tweaks and change that Ice Frog makes. So I'm wondering, with your Blizzard Dota, if you guys plan on keeping it as updated and fluid as the current Dota All-Stars.
Blizzard Dota is something that we absolutely want to continually support going on into the future, and we look to bring absolutely that same quality of updates that we bring to all of our games, where we're constantly patching if need be, absolutely.
The mouse tracking looked awesome, and it's going to make a lot of map creators very happy, but I was wondering when it's actually completed on Battle.net, is it still going to get like constant lag and delay, especially with like 8 players in the WASD system and mouse tracking? It just doesn't seem like it would work.
Well, that lag is something that we have been looking into and that we have been trying to improve upon. I know that in future updates we do hope to improve this, but yeah, hopefully in the future.
I was wondering if now or in the future you would put a system in where you can take Warcraft 3 characters and put them into StarCraft 2.
For Blizzard Dota, we are actually creating a lot of the Warcraft heroes for StarCraft. For example, the Blade Master, for example, Sylvanas. And we will keep doing this, and we will also do this for all of our franchises. So you won't be able to specifically transfer data from Warcraft 3, but we will be including much of the content that you see in it.
Yeah, hi. I was wondering, right now when map makers upload their map, they upload them to their respective regions, and players from other regions can't play them. So do you plan to allow map makers to upload the maps so they are in all regions so all players can play them at some point?
Could you please repeat the question? We had a hard time hearing that.
All right. When a map maker uploads his map, he uploads to the respective region, like Europe or US or Southeast Asia. And when are you going to allow so that a map maker uploads his map and all players from all around the world can actually play it?
You know what? To be honest, I really don't have an answer for that question. That's something we could look into. I know that there's been some challenges with the different regions and publishing your map and trying to get them out published to all the regions. That's obviously one of the things where we really are trying to improve with the Battle.net experience is to really help out the custom map making area.
Okay, I was wondering, with all the new maps that you guys are showing out there on the show floor, will all of those maps be locked when they're released, or will we be able to look at the insides and the guts of them to kind of see how they work?
They will be released unlocked, so you can go inside, you can take out any triggers that you want, any special art, anything. You can just pick and choose, you know, have a little party. You can have Irish Chef food being consumed by Sylvanas while she's fighting a zombie.
Hey, this is more of a technical question, but so in the data editor, you can have to use all some sorts of numbers for like your abilities in terms of like how much it does per damage and whatnot. Will the trigger editor ever have access to those numbers, to like the data you enter? Just because if you implement an ability in the triggers instead of through the data, changing it can be kind of obnoxious. I mean, does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, currently through the trigger editor, you can access those numbers to some degree using the catalog field value get functions. And also, I think the upgrade system is a great way to be able to cause those values to change over time.
So I was just going to say the StarCraft 2 map editor is incredibly awesome and incredibly powerful, but also incredibly intimidating. And I'm wondering if there's plans, or maybe you guys could possibly put out a beginner guide. If not, what would you guys recommend for somebody who just wants to be able to go in and do stuff and figure stuff out? You know, some kind of starter guide to get people to learn how to do all these cool things you guys are doing.
We actually have a few projects in the works for that. One thing is that the maps that we showed today, I am really working really hard to try to get those published at some point so you guys can open those up and see what it looks like inside. That will hopefully be coming in the future. In addition, we hope, our two goals are, we want to try to make it easier for newer users to be introduced to it. We'll be improving the UI over time, as well as hopefully get some guides out there. In addition, we hope at some point to provide some tools that both new users and advanced users will find useful.
I'm a map maker, and I used to make a lot of maps on Warcraft 3. And one thing that I find really kind of irritating for me on StarCraft 2 is that it's hard for me to just host a game and get immediate feedback as I'm developing my map. and kind of figure things out like that. It has to be already popular for people to play it, so I'm just kind of having problems with the popularity system.
One of the things that I would recommend that you do is actually establish your own forums. There's plenty of free forums out there, and use the Blizzarded forums and try to bump your own topic as much as you can. Just trying to get people to play your game, maybe make a couple connections online so you can play test it, and then your map will spread virally and you'll get a lot of feedback that way. I wouldn't get discouraged too much about the popularity system. I really made sure that when I was a modder for Warcraft 3 that I established my own community and that I had my own little feedback system amongst the people that I could talk to. So in a way, I didn't use the Battle.net features a lot.
Hi. First I wanted to let all the amateur map makers here know that StarCraft, SE2Mapster.com is a great resource. My name's R. Roland, if anyone's heard of me there. 6 and come find me. But my question was, when you lock your maps, all it seems to do is delete the trigger file. It doesn't really obfuscate the galaxy, and things just don't seem to be very secure. Do you have any plans on making that any more secure in the future?
Yes, we do. Because we have the marketplace, and it's one of the things that we're thinking about, is that once we unveil that, we also have to protect your guys' work. So all the stuff that you guys are creating for your map, we're looking for ways also to ensure and protect your work also.
Hello. I wanted to ask when these maps that you showcased will be released on Battle.net, and whether the custom map contest winners, the custom map contest winning entries will also be showcased and published at some point.
That would be a yes to all that. We haven't gotten too far with the winners, the 3 people that we're showing their maps today, but that's definitely probably the process next is to get them out there in front of Battle.net and put it up at the top of the feature list, and including these custom maps too. We don't actually have an official day yet when we're going to release these. This is kind of our beta here at BlizzCon, so it's still a little bit of a work in progress.
Hi, I was wondering with custom GUIs if map makers will be able to have hotkeys re-enabled when turning off the StarCraft UI, and if there's a possibility for custom campaigns.
I'm sorry, could you say that one more time?
When map makers turn off the StarCraft GUI, or the graphic user interface, they are a little impeded with not having hotkeys enabled. And if there's a possibility of having that re-enabled, and also if there's a custom campaigns being able for map makers.
Justin, do you have any insight into the editor on that?
With hotkeys, I know that one thing is that we won't want to prevent a user from accessing the main menu. So we don't want someone to be able to make a map that prevents someone from getting to that. So certain hotkeys are going to be reserved, but I don't know anything in particular that we have in the works, but that's really good feedback, and I hope that we'll be able to provide that for you soon.
Hi, yeah. So basically, thinking about feedback and getting all that data. Let's say you're making Blizzard Dota and you want to figure out what classes or what heroes are more overpowered or underpowered or whatever. Will there be any way of getting the data at the end of the game, somehow sending that data somewhere so you can collect it and kind of look over, oh, this hero is winning every game or whatever? Will there be any way to mine that data somehow?
We have a score screen that will show all kinds of stats like hero kills, the amount of damage that each hero has done, the damage they've taken, you know, how many times they've died, assists, I mean just all kinds of things like that. And you'll get that at the end of every game that you play. And then, of course, you're totally free to send any feedback to us, whether it's via forums or whatever method that you choose.
If anybody has any more questions, feel free to get in line, you guys. We've still got plenty of time.
Yeah, that wasn't exactly what I'm asking. Basically, 1,000 people play your game, and I want to know the win, like what teams won those 1,000 games, so I can look and see, will there be any way to get like the data from games I haven't played that like my fans have played or whatever?
I'm not certain I still understand the question, but I think what you're asking maybe is like, for example, for the main multiplayer game, we say like, 51% of Protoss, are winning against, Terran, for example, like that. And there's definitely, we might be releasing stats like that as well, absolutely.
I won the custom map contest, and I wanted to know how many that participated in the contest, if possible.
How to what?
How many that participated in the contest?
Oh, and how many entries were there for the contest?
Yeah.
The number that I heard, I don't know the exact number, but I believe there was over 500.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I played Warcraft 3 Dota a lot, and I was wondering, for StarCraft 2, will the inventory system ever be simplified to a lot more similar to being like Warcraft 3? Because right now, I played the StarCraft Dotas a lot, but the inventory system is really clunky as for items.
The inventory system is something that's very much a work in progress. Theoretically, it existed before we started working on this map, but this map was actually a wake-up call for us, and it's definitely something that we are looking to improve.
Thank you.
Hello. In the Warcraft 3 bonus campaign, you could jump from one map to another, kind of going through the little, well, like an instance. I didn't know how realistic it was to integrate that into StarCraft 2 multiplayer, where you might have 8, 10 players, on multiple maps at multiple times.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite understanding the question here.
So in Warcraft 3, the bonus campaign, there was a main map, and then from there you went to what would be an instance in Warcraft, but you actually switched maps. So you actually went to Thunder Ridge with the lizards and different things. So I didn't know how plausible it was to actually hook multiple maps together in a multiplayer setting for StarCraft 2.
You know what? We haven't really explored linking multiplayer maps together. That was something that, when we did that in Warcraft 3, that was a bunch of designers towards the end of the development cycle there that we got really excited, which were kind of going off the World of Warcraft because they were developing simultaneously at the time. But that's a really good suggestion. That's something we should probably take a look at as far as linking maps together on a multiplayer experience.
Hi, so I noticed going from War 3 to StarCraft 2, there's been a lot of improvements to the editor, but as far as BNet goes, there seems to be a lack of options for, like, let's say Dota, there's a lot of game modes, and you might not want to play all random, but maybe like all pick. Is there going to be any way to add filters to that for maps in the future?
The only thing I could really say about Battle.net is it's really an ongoing experience for us. Just as we're creating custom maps and we're trying to look at ways to improve the editor, we're constantly looking for ways to improve the Battle.net itself too.
Thank you.
Hello, I was wondering if we could have some sort of high score screen over a region or worldwide for our maps.
You can actually do some of that already using the bank system in the triggers. You can store whatever stats that you want, like say I won your map, you can store that on my computer, and then you can actually load that data into the map, and then you can list out all of the stats. That you can do right now. And of course, in the future, we're always looking to add even more functionality.
Hey, the popularity system seems to be based on a number of games played. So right now it seems to be making a one-player tower defense that lasts 5 minutes would top the charts. Do you plan to include number of players and how long a game lasts into the popularity system?
I kind of caught a little bit. You're talking about the popular system for the custom maps?
Yeah, do you plan to include the number of players in a map so that not every popular map has like 2 or 3 players? Like some maps have 8 players and they're really far down the charts because of that.
Sure, yeah, no, that's a really good piece of feedback. The custom screen, the joining the custom game screen, it's still a work in progress. It's something that from the moment we shipped until the recent patches, we've already made some adjustments to it. But, that would be a great idea as far as being able to search based on the number of players, because you're looking for you and your friend to find a cool 2-player custom map on popular games that way.
So in World of Warcraft, you have spell power, which is a nice stat you get, boosts the powers of your abilities, et cetera, et cetera. Is it possible to remake something like this in StarCraft 2, a custom stat that affects your abilities and like boosts the power of them, and then further have in the tooltip it show you how much base damage that ability do, and then how much extra damage it's going to do based on your, spell power or whatever you want to call it?
Blizzard Dota is already actually doing a lot of what you're talking about, and you can actually do a lot of that right now. You can define custom attributes, whatever you want, and then you can have those, your abilities, you can have your abilities tie into those attributes. So like if I have an int attribute, an intelligence attribute, and I want that to improve the damage of a spell, you can actually do that. And of course, we're always looking at improving those abilities as well.
I would actually look into using dialogues too, because you can update a mouse over tooltip on the fly. Because I think you're specifically saying that my fireball does 300 plus 200 damage, so it does 500 damage. Yeah, you can actually use dialogues to do that right now.
Hi, right now when you're trying to create an artistic asset, you basically have to have your own image editor, sound editor, and then import it back to the Galaxy editor. Is there any plan in the future where you guys going to integrate things like image editor, sound editor inside the Galaxy editor itself, instead of having us to use Photoshop or other sound editor?
Well, I think that I'm not sure if we're going to be able to expose all of those different tools to you, but I know that we do have plans to release and expose our art tools sometime between now and the shipping of Legacy of the Void. I'm sorry. It is something that we are working on, though.
Yeah, I would like to add to that too, is that one of the things going through our process is we got a discussion now creating a UI editor. This is something that wasn't even on a table about a month ago, but by us going through all this, we've now kind of set our energy to also adding another tool to the editor.
I had a question about the sort of lobby system, where I'd love to create something that requires you to be in specific slots, but I'm not that good with the triggers and such, and it seems really annoying to have that first come, first served pick race once you enter the game. I mean, a lot of people don't really know about that, so I was just wondering, are you going to have some way of creating a system within the lobby to change your player slots? And sort of the next question would be, specifically for something like StarCraft 2 debates, where there's a lot of trolls, or for like StarCraft Dota, there's also a lot of trolls in that. Is there a way that you can, or are you going to implement some sort of ban system where if you are in a Dota game and some guy is just feeding continuously and you just want to ban him personally, do you think that there's a way that you could do that from the whole game as an editor?
I definitely want to address the question about the lobby slots in Battle.net. This is an issue that in all of our custom mods, Blizzard Dota in particular, we came face to face with ourselves. And it's definitely something that we want to improve in the future. For the question about banning, we have no plans to do that at this time.
Hey, how's it going? First, I have an idea and then a question. The way maps are ranked right now is by plays. It's basically if there's 500 plays an hour, it'll be ranked up pretty high. But games that take a long time to play it. One of my friends has a game that takes about an hour to get through sometimes, and he can't have a lot of plays per hour because it takes so long to get through. There needs to be a lot more players playing his map for it to be bumped up as high as like Nexus Wars, which only takes a couple minutes to play. So I just wanted to give that idea for maybe a future way to rank maps, do it by time instead of by number of plays, like how long the map has been played, the grand total of all players combined. I don't know. You guys probably have a better idea already in the works, but just a thought. Also, my question is, are you able to give any details right now on how maps might in the future be chosen to be a premium map, or is that so much in the works that everything's up in the air?
It's so still in the works right now that we're not quite sure how we're going to approach the premium maps versus the free content.
Hi there. Can you inform me on any information as towards single-player custom campaigns?
I'm sorry, the single-player custom campaign?
Correct. Like people creating them.
Oh, who created all the campaign missions?
No, like us creating them for fans.
So the question is, when will you be able to create your own single-player custom campaign?
Yeah.
Well, this was certainly something that you could do in Warcraft 3, and it's definitely something we'd like to implement in the future.
Hi. I was wondering if you're going to be releasing any updates to the Galaxy editor. I know a lot of my friends use it all the time, and a lot of them complain about how it can be a little bit laggy or buggy at times, especially with Vespene geysers and SCVs moving around it in messed up ways.
Yeah, I mean, in future updates to the editor, we're constantly looking at both performance and usability.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause, everybody.
That's you and Tall, right?
Any last words, you guys? Anything else to close with?
No, I'm just really excited that you guys all came here to listen to our maps or talk about our maps. And I'd hate to plug this, but I hope you guys get a chance to go over there and play some of these mods because these guys spend a lot of time, and we're really looking to hear what you guys have to say about them. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're back here live at BlizzCon 2010. That wraps up the StarCraft 2 panel, all about the brand new mods, including Left to Die and other exciting things. As we look here at BlizzCon, there's a Diablo 3 area where folks are getting their first ever chance to play the Demon Hunter class, which is the final class that was announced for Diablo 3 this morning. I'm Jeff Keighley here live at our BlizzCon stage in HD on DirecTV with Cat Hunter. And joining us now is a man who we see every year here at BlizzCon, Paul Sams. Paul, it's great to have you back.
Great to be back.
Well, BlizzCon is off to an amazing start today. Lots of excitement around all the announcements and everything like that. Does this BlizzCon feel any different to you than the other ones you guys have done over the past?
It feels a lot bigger to me, to be honest. When you walk around the halls this year, you're bumping into a lot more people. And I think it feels like everybody that decided that they wanted to come decided to come the first day so they could experience the opening ceremony and everything else and maybe make it a weekend. So I think a lot of times people, were working on Fridays and they said, oh, we'll just get Saturday in. But this year it feels like they're in full force.
Now, how do you decide when you're going to do a BlizzCon? Last year you did it, I think it was in summertime. Now it's October. This has been a really busy year for you guys with StarCraft coming out in the summer, Cataclysm in December, BlizzCon now. Do you do a BlizzCon every year no matter what now, or how do you decide on the timing?
Well, it's a number of factors, to be honest with you. We try to position it appropriately so it's not overlapping with our product releases or any other major patches or content updates or other big events for us. But to be honest with you, we don't have total control. It's partly connected to the fact that these big trade show venues, they have certain spots that are open, and that's all you got. And so we've booked, far in advance and held held different spots for coming years at a couple of different venues just so we give ourselves options. But we really love Anaheim. We feel like the 4 halls, one after the other, allows it to really flow well. And we really like being here. But, you know, some of it's in our hands, some of it's not. Thankfully, it worked perfectly this year. We're right smack in the middle of StarCraft 2 and Cataclysm, so definitely good.
Now, a lot of, like Jeff was saying, it's a big year for Blizzard. You just recently put out the 12 million player for World of Warcraft announcement. Now, it's been a long time since you had the last announcement, which I believe was 11.5. I think most people were expecting that number to go down. It did go up, but there was a long gap between it. What do you attribute the rise from 11.5 to 12 million recently?
Well, I'll tell you, I kind of look at it like an engine, right? You've got an engine, you've got all these pistons pumping, and one of the pistons wasn't pumping, and that was we didn't have the most, you know, we didn't have the Wrath of the Lich King content in China, and as a result, we weren't able to see the growth in that market that we had seen in the other markets, and so that's why there was a gap. Once Wrath of the Lich King launched in August of this year, we started seeing the subscribership there materially increase, and so I think that's contributory to it. And then hopefully, you know, I think the different content updates that we've been doing and the different things that are going to come out with Cataclysm, I think that also drives a lot of win back, and it also causes a lot of the players to be logging back in and really going after it. So we're really excited about the future for World of Warcraft. We think that there's a lot of legs on that thing, and we think Cataclysm is really going to drive things for us. It's an incredible expansion set, and I think people are going to be really excited about it.
How far out do you plan, you know, the business of World of Warcraft? Because it's obviously, you know, it's the biggest thing in gaming right now, and fans love it. But I mean, with 12 million subscribers, it's obviously, you know, the biggest thing that Blizzard has. Is there, you know, a 3-5 year plan for what you want to do with World of Warcraft? How far out do you think about it?
Well, content drives everything for us. I mean, I look at it as focusing on the game, and the business trails that. Right. And so we don't build business plans, so to speak, that say, hey, we want to hit this number of subscribers and we want to hit this type of revenue or anything like that. That's not what it's about for us. The focus is what is the next content that we want to deliver. So if you said to the development teams, do you know what you're going to deliver in the next expansion set? Well, I would say that they have a pretty darn good idea. They know what type of things they're wanting to address and the types of experiences that they're wanting to deliver. And they know that a number of years in advance because they really are trying to evolve this franchise and this universe in an intelligent way. And so they sketch out what that future looks like, and then they kind of focus in on the specifics as they release the most recent content. And they say, okay, let's get to that next thing that we want to really hit, that exciting, you know, advancement of the story, or this advancement of a character or a group of people. And they're really geeked up on that, and that's what really drives it. And then, you know, my team on the operations and business side kind of follow behind that, and we try to make sure that we wrap the right business model and business decisions around the game, because that's really the driver. The people aren't here because they're excited that we have the coolest business models. That's not what it's about. It's all about the games, and so we can't allow the business to drive the games. The games drive the business.
That's the way to do it.
The press release that you just that we were just talking about actually mentioned Southeast Asia and Latin America as different areas that you're putting attention into expanding into. Can you bring us up to date on what's happening with regional expansions?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Southeast Asia, when we launched StarCraft 2, we made a much stronger and, I guess, more focused effort on trying to evolve that market. There's a lot of players that have been playing there for a long time. They didn't have local servers. They were connecting to the US or maybe to Korea. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to deliver a better gaming experience for them, one that's more focused and a lot more attention against them, more appropriate marketing and community and other types of things in those markets so that they feel as if they're getting the attention that they deserve. Those people are as important to us as anywhere else, and the market is growing in such a way to where we felt like we could really enter into it appropriately. And the same thing goes for Latin America. We have a lot of players that have been playing our games in Latin America for many years, and I think, you know, our efforts now is we're really trying to put community in and trying to build those markets and those and support those very passionate gamers there. They're very passionate. There's just I guess the market hasn't been quite big enough for us to be able to put the type of headcount against it, but now we are. and it's really paying off. We're really seeing a lot of people coming over. They feel like we're putting the attention against them, that we're prioritizing them, and we're doing the things necessary to ensure that they get to play. And so, you know, when you look at the various markets we go in, one of the things that I think that really helped us to be successful is that we try to create these games with global appeal, but then we build the local experience in a way that feels like we're local. And so we make sure that when we bring those games out, that we're pricing it in a way that's appropriate for the market. We give them a way to pay for it that's appropriate for their market. And I think that's been a real differentiator. A lot of American companies or Western companies try to go into markets and say, okay, what we're doing in the West is going to work everywhere. And candidly, that's just not the case. And I think that's a real kind of key differentiator for us. And it's allowed us to be successful in those markets. People feel like we care about them in a way that other game companies don't, and that we're willing to make, you know, changes in the way we're approaching things, not only in localization but culturalization of those products, and the way we're structuring the business and how they can play and how they can pay and all that. And I think that's really been a big one for us.
Absolutely. Well, we're on Twitter as well, Paul, because the fans have lots of questions for you and everyone else at Blizzard. So if you guys have a question for Paul Sam, you can send it to me at Jeff Keighley or Cat Hunter at Cat Hunter. Let's go to Twitter right now. First question that comes up is from Ben MJ, and he says, again, Swinging Ape Studios, they made a great game. We're making Ghost. They got bought by Blizzard, and now what? What's up with Swinging Ape Studios?
Well, Swinging Ape Studios, when we acquired them, they were focusing on Ghost, and as many of you know, we've taken Ghost and we've kind of put it on an indefinite hold. It was a game that I know for me, I wanted us to make very much. StarCraft is my favorite franchise that we've ever developed, and so being able to see it from that perspective and that type of gameplay was something I was excited about. We weren't really able to get it to the place where we really wanted it to get, and as a result, we've kind of put it on hold. And the folks from Swinging Ape, what has happened is those very talented and capable people have kind of been dispersed across the company, and candidly are some of the most talented and capable people in the company, and have moved into some very prominent roles in the organization, and are making major contributions to each of the franchises and each of the games that you guys are aware of today.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough.
Good to hear.
Absolutely. Let's go back to Twitter for another question. This one comes from Dominic, Deadly Dom 91, and he says, is there any chance that a Blizzard game will come to Xbox 360 or the next Xbox console? Very nice greetings from Austria. He's watching the web stream, I guess, all the way from Austria. What do you have to tell Dominic about this very popular question?
Well, Dominic, first of all, thank you for watching us, number one.
Yes.
But number two, as it relates to Xbox and consoles in general, we're all console game players, and we love it. And when we are building these games, we don't think about it from the perspective of, hey, we have to be on this platform or that platform. What we do is when we're building the game, we say, let's focus on the gameplay first and the player experience. And then from there, we make platform decisions. We say, is this appropriate for these other platforms? And if it is, then we'll look at it. I think from our leadership and our developers' perspective, we would love to be on one of the console platforms. Xbox 360 is obviously awesome. That's what I play most personally at home. And so definitely an awesome system. And if we find that a product that we're developing is appropriate for those platforms, we will fearlessly go into it. We think it would be awesome, and we think that it'll be able to bring these franchises to a broader community. So it really depends on the game and if it's appropriate. And if it is, then we'll look at it.
Is there any chance that Diablo 3 could come to consoles, or it has to be sort of ruled out at this point?
I think that it absolutely is possible.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, every game we do, we look at it and say, is it right or is it not?
Yeah.
We're in contact with Microsoft and with Sony and what have you, and we explore each of these products and try to determine if it's the right thing. We have a great experience or a great relationship with those companies.
Right.
We talk about it each time, and I think Diablo, it's certainly possible. It's something that I could envision us exploring.
Because I know a lot of fans say, StarCraft hard to do on the consoles because it's RTS.
Yeah.
But Diablo could work. I just didn't know, how early in development you have to make that decision in order to bring it out. So I guess it's still could happen.
I think for us, we try to build our games in such a way to where we give ourselves flexibility to make those decisions. And you're right, I think Diablo certainly could be a really incredible experience on console. It's all going to be a matter of whether the development team feels that it's appropriate, can they deal with the control issues, and is it going to translate appropriately. And I think the other thing is that we're not super excited about is doing direct ports.
Right.
And so it's then a question of what is it that we would do to differentiate that product to make it appropriate. And so, those are things that we look at, and we look at that at every product that we're developing. Is this the one that's going to make it over there? And time will tell.
All right, well, stay tuned, I guess, Paul Sands is saying. We want to go to another question on Twitter, Kat?
Sure, I just wanted to ask you really briefly. We talked to Frank Pierce about this a little bit, but you launched 2 games for the first time this year. It's the first time I think Blizzard's had 2 major releases in 1 year. From an operational standpoint, so for a very long time, right? For a very long time.
All. Don't try him on Blizzard trivia.
That's true.
98, sister.
Exactly, except for in 98. For a very long time. So we've got 12 years. From an operational standpoint, from your perspective, what was some of the biggest challenges you had?
Well, splitting a focus. I mean, that's one of the things that I think has been really, I think, a differentiator for Blizzard, is that we're very, very focused, and it's that kind of eye of Sauron, that laser focus that really helps us to deliver these big launches, worldwide simultaneous releases and what have you. And, with World of Warcraft, what that has done with our companies, it's caused us to grow significantly, and we've expanded each of the departments, and we've prepared ourselves for the time that would come that we would have more than one title in 1 year, and that's happening this year. And I think the team that we've put together is spectacular in each of the markets, and they've been planning for this for a long time, to be honest. Yeah. And there's been some growing pains in that, because it's not easy for us to try to do these types of launches with the type of marketing and promotion and community events and tournaments and all those different types of things that go with that. It's a big effort. It's Herculean, candidly, and I think it's all about the team. The team is stepping up and doing a lot of great things, and they've planned appropriately, and I think that we're ready.
What can we expect from the Cataclysm launch? I know you just had the TV spot that premiered on the football game last week. Is this going to be the biggest Blizzard launch you've ever done?
I think so. I mean, that's certainly what we're planning and hoping. Obviously, the players can determine how big it is, and so we're hoping that the content that we've developed for Cataclysm is going to be an exciting enough experience that's going to cause them to come out in force. We believe that it's our best content that we've developed yet for the game, and so I think that the players that come out and check it out are going to feel like it was well worth it, and I guess time will tell. We're going to have midnight openings around the world. We're doing pre-orders this year, which is something that's, I think, different. So the players that are really passionate about it and want to be on the servers the moment they open are going to be able to pre-order, download the content, so that the moment the servers are on, they're going.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's going to be pretty exciting for us, and something that I think the players have been saying that they wanted for a long time. I mean, when you're into this, you want to play
Seconds
now.
count, exactly.
Right? You want to be the first one to achieve a variety of different things, and so getting in immediately is a big thing. So.
I remember, I think with Lich King, some people were flying to Europe or something like that just to try and see it for the first time and stuff like that, because they get the 8-hour time jump.
Tell you what, it's no joke. These people are serious, man. So it's definitely going to be a fun thing, and I think that's going to make a difference for those players that are really into that.
Awesome.
So that is one question we've been getting a lot on Twitter today. Are there going to be midnight opening events? So we can say for sure there will be some announced in the future?
Absolutely.
Okay.
That's a big part of the launches that Blizzard does. We like to get out in the field. We like to have our developers and what have you meeting the players. The players, a lot of the folks that come to these midnight openings, they want to get autographs from the developers. They want to meet them. They want to give them their ideas and share their thoughts. We love to do that too. I mean, a lot of times I think that people think that that's all about the players. Selfishly, we dig it also because it's, I'd love to quote Chris Metzen. He always talks about how BlizzCon and these midnight openings, it's recharging of the geek batteries.
Yeah.
And that's as much for us, candidly, as all the players. We love it. We love getting out there and seeing them out in force, and the enthusiasm and excitement, the costumes, all the different people that are flipping out about the game. And so it's really a great experience.
So bringing up Chris Metzen and geek, he spent a lot of time this morning talking about what is geek and gave a lot of examples. What is something that really geeks you out, that you're really passionate about, just personally?
Just personally?
Yeah.
Goodness, you're serving it up for me. Well, there's a number of things. Number one, StarCraft is my favorite game of all time. StarCraft 2 has now surpassed that.
Right.
I love that franchise, so that geeks me out.
Yeah.
On a personal level, I'm a really big football fan.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of my biggest passions in the world. So
one of the owners of the Steelers, we should mention, right?
small.
One, I said
small.
one. Exactly.
And I'd say an investor.
Okay.
But definitely, it's something that I love very much. I love college football and pro football. My children play it. My wife and I are fanatical about it. It's a big thing in the Sam's house.
It's a lot of games, probably, right?
We're at games constantly. I'm going to be at a game tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. and then flying here, not literally, but driving as fast as I can to be able to experience this tomorrow. So it's football is in our blood at our house.
No football games coming from Blizzard, we think. But there are some other questions for you, Paul, on Twitter. This one comes from Troll King. And Troll King asks, will Diablo 3 also have a collector's edition? And if so, any details on what we will likely see in it and hints of the pet? I guess maybe a little early to talk about
People love the pets.
Right?
What pet are we going to have?
I think that at the moment I say anything about that and I walk off the stage, our team will be out there to kick my butt if I say anything about it. But what I would say is, we've historically always delivered collector's editions.
It would be a little surprising if you didn't, I think.
I would just say that history suggests that there could be something like that.
Right.
But any details around that, I can't really go into.
All right, well, we'll have to wait and see.
Well, we'll send in our emails. I'm thinking like a really cool metal etched box is like under the ground, don't you think, Jeff?
Yeah, why not?
I like these ideas, Kat. All right, well, good stuff. Lots of other questions here on Twitter. This one actually comes from, I'm Canadian, and this one comes from Brody, and he says, can Canadians see a BlizzCon in Canada in the future?
I don't know. We've talked a lot about where we want to send BlizzCon.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest driving forces to continuing to have it in Anaheim is that we want as many of our employees and developers to come. And when we have it here and it's close to home, we're able to send the entire force over here. And what that does, in my mind, is it makes the experience even better for the players that have traveled as far as they have to come here. They're able to interact with a much broader selection of people. They can talk to people on any of the development teams. If they're into customer service, they can talk to customer service people. They want to talk about business stuff, they can do that. They can see the entire spectrum of our employee base here. We have people from all of our global offices as well, so if folks are coming from another country, chances are they might see somebody here that is from their country as well on our staff. And so I think that's something that's really special about that, though, having it here is all of our developers are here. If we send it off to Canada or we send it off to another part of the country or another part of the world, we would obviously send a lot of our employees, but you wouldn't have the breadth of employees that you do if it's close by. Another reason that we have it here is there's a lot of stuff to do around here, so people can make it a trip and they can feel like, hey, I can go to Disneyland across the street.
Literally, right across the street.
Right there.
If you're not from Southern California is a fun place to come, although it's a little bit rainy right now, which is a bit weird, but it's a fun place to come, and I think people get more out of it if they have access to more of the developers and what have you. Those guys are all real cool guys and girls, and it would make it harder for us if we were doing it across the world or across the country.
One other question for you that I know a lot of fans are asking about is the World of Warcraft movie, which I know you're involved in. We've heard about it for a number of years. Sam Raimi is sort of in line to direct it. You got a writer working on it.
Yes, we do.
What's the latest on that? I know Sam's got a bunch of projects he's talking about.
Yeah.
Is it progressing? Are you happy with how it's going?
I'm really happy right now. It's there was a window of time where it wasn't progressing as fast as we wanted because there was all these competing focuses for everybody. But we've got Sam involved. He's very intimately involved. Bob Rodat, who is the screenwriter for Saving Private Ryan, is the guy that's penning the screenplay. Those two guys have been sitting in rooms with Chris Metzen and with Rob Pardo hours and hours and hours on end, shaping what that experience is going to be, what the story is that they're going to tell. And I'm excited as can be because I've got to sit in a number of those meetings and listen to these creative geniuses just do their thing. And I feel like we're at a place where it's really starting to get pretty hot. And I'm excited. I really, really want it to happen. It's one of those things where, it's not happening as fast as any of us want it, but having the opportunity to see what their conversations are and what the story is looking like and the characters that they're developing and all that kind of stuff, it's really geeking me up, and it's like I'm looking. I'm like, when is it that I'm getting?
So do they have like a script for it yet, or it's still kind of being?
They're developing the screenplay, but the story is really starting to get fleshed out, and I think all of the parties are seeing a similar vision.
Oh, wow.
And that's pretty cool.
It's a big universe, a big world. It's like one story to tell.
Exactly. I mean, it is gigantic, and trying to find something that you're going to do for a few hours and trying to get all this hot, sexy stuff all in one short movie, it's a tough one. But those guys are really vibing well together. They really all get along well. They like each other. They're having fun. And you know, you sit in these meetings and you just want to be a fly on the wall. You don't even want to say anything.
Yeah.
I can't compete with any of these 4 guys on anything creative. And so to be able to sit back and listen to them just go for it is just a ball. I mean, it's unbelievable, to be honest, because you don't get to do that in very many circumstances in your life, to see these guys that have done these types of things, these big epic things, all together vibing like that, and seeing the product is going to be really a big payoff. It's awesome.
Fantastic. Well, we can't wait to hear more about that in the future. Well, thank you very much, Paul. I'm sure
Thank
we'll
you.
be seeing you again here over the next couple of hours as we continue with more BlizzCon.
Love seeing you guys.
But right now, we're going to talk about something brand new. It's a brand new statue of Jim Raynor from StarCraft. Check it out.
Awesome.
So one thing at Blizzard we like to do is we actually like to create our characters life-size so people actually get a chance to interact with them and actually see them and actually see what they'd actually look like in reality. And one thing that we're really proud of this year is we actually have a new installment. We have Jim Raynor. And Jim is about, I'd say, 5 years in the making. We built him for the pre-rendered cinematics and then actually had to rebuild him for the real-time cinematics for StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty.
We came as fast as we could.
And with this particular piece, we actually took the CG itself and outputted it in these large, massive wax shapes. And from there, we actually made molds. So this guy is actually fiberglass. And one thing that I was really specific about with this particular piece, I wanted it to be ultra realistic. So every little detail had to look absolutely real. So the things like the pipes and things that you see here, we actually just went to an automotive store and purchased them. So things like bushings and little brackets, all that's for real. Things like this, the actual engine block has been hand sculpted and then outputted in 3D, or actually in the wax. And then they put a painting type of weathering on it so it actually looks photorealistic. Some other things to notice are the gun holster itself. We actually wrapped leather on this, so this is real leather, so absolutely gives it that photorealistic look. Another thing you'll notice is the face itself is it's actually cast in silicon, and the silicon gives a very translucent, realistic-looking skin effect, and each hair is individually punched, absolutely photorealistic. And the same thing with the hair. The hair is actually real human hair. And the beard too, so if you touched his cheek, he actually has a stubble, which is pretty interesting. Another thing you'll notice is there's actual hologram on his face, and that's to be absolutely realistic, the same way that we had the cinematics. So there's a little teeny hologram that's actually being projected, and there's a little projector in a little movie that's actually playing on him. And you'll notice that the lights themselves turn on and off, and on the back his engines actually light up in the same way that they did in the Building a Better Marine cinematic, where the actual engines ignite. A couple of other things that you'll notice is the insignias. We wanted to be as true as possible to the original design, so everything that you see here was taken directly from the CG model, right down to the writing, and some of the writing you'll notice is Portuguese, and the original artist that worked on it, he's Brazilian, and what he actually did is instead of putting caution, he'd actually write that in Portuguese. So we actually felt that it was pretty cool to actually just leave it as is. And also, we're actually using like real silver paint. So what that actually do is that actually paint this silver and then scratch away down to the actual base, which gives it that photo-realistic look. And I think overall, I'm pretty excited with the way it turned out. So that's the lowdown on the life-size BlizzCon Jim Raynor. And now, let's get back to BlizzCon.
All right, that was Jim Raynor, the brand new statue at Blizzard. And right now we're going to head on out to JoJo, who's walking around BlizzCon. JoJo, where are you at right now?
Thanks, guys. I'm absolutely thrilled right now to have the opportunity to introduce one of the costume contest entrants for this year. Her name is Christina Estrada, and as you can see, she has made the most incredibly detailed Diablo 3 female monk costume. Christina, welcome.
Hi, JoJo. How are you?
I'm awesome, thanks. I am in awe of your glory right now. So this costume must have taken forever to make. Can you give us some idea of how much work goes into creating something like this?
The monk took about 8 months to make. It's entirely leather. Everything, the guitars here are plywood. Those are gorgeous. Thank you very much. I've got some antiquing involved in the weapons. The rest of it's just cloth, but the leather work definitely took some time to make.
Now, how did you come up with the idea to cosplay this particular character?
I'm a really big fan of Diablo, love Diablo 2. I absolutely love the concept art of the monk this year. I thought it was something very unique, and I just love the art style, and I just really wanted to bring it to life.
Well, you've done a phenomenal job with it. I wish you absolutely the best of luck in the costume contest this year, and we'll see you up on stage.
Great, thank you so much.
All right, back to you guys.
All right, thank you very much, JoJo. Well, we're moving right on to Diablo 3 with Jay Wilson. Jay, 10 out of 10. You were you were impressed with the costume.
Yes, I approve.
You approve. She's going to be up tonight. You think she has a chance to win?
That's a pretty amazing contest. I sure hope so. We took it last year.
That's true, actually. That's right. Yeah. So you could be returning champion. Well, Jay, welcome to the BlizzCon live stage. Kat and I are now here in the Diablo 3 world.
Yeah.
So do you notice how we transitioned over to Diablo 3 here?
Seamlessly.
Oh, yeah. Neither of you are on fire, though.
No, but the smoke will come later.
Where was the pyro? I mean, this is DirecTV. We need theatrics. Come on.
I was told someone would be on fire.
Well, maybe tomorrow. Come back.
We'll see how well the interview goes.
Well, Jay, congratulations. You guys had two big announcements this morning.
Yep.
At the opening ceremonies for the Diablo fans. And the Diablo area is actually right behind us here on the DirecTV stage. There's a huge line of fans getting a chance to play the Demon Hunter, the final class.
Yep, the Demon Hunter. We're so happy with her and how she turned out. We really wanted a dark medieval class, and we wanted we knew we had to fill out kind of the ranged archetype of somebody who uses bows and crossbows and throwing weapons and things like that. But we also wanted to give somebody, I think people expected a class like that, but we wanted to make sure that it was still something really special and maybe a bit of a surprise. And we couldn't be more happy with the announcement.
So now you're done. No more classes.
Yeah, we're done. Not with the game.
Is there a sense of finality, though? Because you've been working on this game for so many years. Now you finally have all your classes set, so you can't make any changes, Jeff.
Yeah, well, we can always make changes. Like,
you gonna announce that class is canceled next year at BlizzCon? Probably not.
Well,
right?
we gotta have something for next year. So yeah. So right now, I'll tell you, next year we're gonna cancel one of the classes. That'll be our big announcement.
That's big news.
We'll do a video of the class being put to death.
How long ago? Let me ask you. How long ago did you know what your 5 classes were?
Right.
You obviously announced the last one today, but I think we talked to you in previous years. You're like, well, we're still toying with some ideas. I mean, when did you have the final 5?
We had about 4 of them almost like 4 years ago. We knew all of them, and actually the monk was really the last one we decided. Right. The Demon Hunter used to be more of a ranger class, and after last BlizzCon we actually did switch. And the ranger was in the game at one point, and some of the skills that are on the Demon Hunter got transferred over.
Interesting. All right, so there are some modifications. Now, was that a reaction to BlizzCon last year, or that was just...
It was a little bit more reaction from the team that the Ranger idea had been around so long, but we just felt like we could do something more. We felt like it could be a more original idea. Right. And so we really focused. We decided that if we could get something a little bit darker, that it would be a little bit more fitting for Diablo.
Now, for people who aren't able to be here at the show and play the game, what are people playing with the Demon Hunter on the show floor?
So we've got about 8 skills for her that represent kind of the core of what she is. She's got multi-arrow, she's got bola shot, which is a ability that hits a target and bola bombs wrap around the character and then explode. We've got vault, which allows her to move around really quickly. So it's a good kind of collection of skills to get an idea of how she plays, and also item sets, dual-wielding crossbows, as well as regular bows and crossbows. So you can get a good feel for the character. She's definitely still fairly early. We've got a lot more skills and traits, and she doesn't have runes yet, but she's very playable.
That was actually one of the big things you were talking about earlier, was your the new systems for modifying your skills and for modifying your abilities. How much work has gone into that system?
Oh, a ton of work, and we've got so many that play, because such a big part of Diablo is customizing your character. So we've got skill runes, which completely change how your character works. So, you can put them into skills, and it does so much to kind of even completely change the nature of the skill. Traits, which is really more of a role-playing system as much as a customization, where you decide, I want to be a really tough barbarian, or I want to be a wizard who focuses more on elemental skills. And there's a trait for kind of each one of those different kinds of builds that you might want to do that allows you to kind of focus that character even more.
Now, is there going to be any limitation in customizing these builds and to bringing them into the PvP environment that you introduced today? Are you going to be able to customize your character however you like for PvP play?
However you like. Anything that is available in PvE translates over to PvP. We do make minor changes to some skills to make them balance them, but it's mostly we try to focus all of those on not changing the nature of what the skill does. But we might say if it's okay to stun a monster for 6 seconds, it's probably not okay to stun a player for 6 seconds. So your skill would still stun, just for a shorter amount of time.
Right, and that's where you introduce more counters into PvP gameplay.
Exactly, and the counters are even even beyond that. They allow you to design your character such that you have opportunities to break out of different things. And there's certain runes and skills that are really, while they might have function in PvE, are even designed more for PvP. Counters are a great example of that. They're useful in PvE, but they're even more useful in PvP.
Awesome.
Excellent. All right, Jay. Well, we're going to go to Twitter now because people have questions for you.
Awesome.
Diablo 3, believe it or not. First one comes all the way from Denmark. Yes, and this one comes from Christian. And Christian says, someone has to ask this, when is the Diablo 3 beta going to be? And you're probably not going to answer, but...
Probably about 6 months before we release.
Okay. All right, well, that's fair
That's
enough.
an excellent plan.
So,
not this year. Right?
I answered it.
Is there any talk about just putting the small playable portions that we've seen at BlizzCon out to the public any sooner than that, or we won't see it till the beta?
No, it's really our goal to...
Nice try,
we don't want to put anything out until we're close to release.
Right.
The purpose of our betas are to make the games better. And really, the small kind of bite-sized chunks we put at BlizzCon are not really appropriate to put out as a demo because they don't represent the final product. It's a work in progress. Whereas a beta is really also put out as well, this is a work in progress, but at least it's advertised as such. And the goal of it is to help us make the game as good as possible.
Absolutely.
Cool.
If anything, that would delay the release of the game.
And we don't want that,
We
Jay.
don't want that.
All right, let's back to Twitter here with Luis from Brazil, who's watching you on Break. You bring in all the international fans. It's like Denmark, Brazil. Let's get a question in from Asia right now. If you're out there, Twitter us a question. Your question is from Asia. We will ask it. This one
You're going to lie and say they're from Asia. Why'd you say that?
No, I'm going to check their profile, Kat. I got their number. Don't worry. All right, let's go to this. This is Luis. He says, will there be any class-specific quests in Diablo 3 to give you backstory or maybe a new spell? Greetings from Brazil.
We don't do class-specific questing. We talked about that for a while, and what we found was that it didn't work very well in the cooperative environment because nobody wanted to run off and do the barbarian quest. However, every quest that is done from the perspective of your character. So your character comments on things from their perspective, and also some of the quests do have elements in them where we tell you more about your specific character. Everyone does the quest, but there's actual specific poignance for, say, the barbarian when he does it.
Is there a special way that you weave the lore of each of the classes into the storyline when you start off?
Well, the first thing is to actually make sure that each class has a character to them. That each class is a real living person.
Right.
And because of that, they really come off their reaction to any particular thing that happens in the world sells who they are. And a lot of the rest of it is just making sure that we've got a lot of hooks for lore. And hooks are what we call things like lore books. Lore books are things that drop in the world that tell you deeper story about the world. And in there are lore books that are specific to each class that tell you a little bit more about the class that you're playing.
Now, what are we actually seeing PvP-wise on the show floor? We didn't talk about that. What classes are available?
Right now we have the Witch Doctor, Barbarian, and the Wizard are all playable in the arenas. Eventually every class will be playable in the arena, so all 5 and all builds and everything. And what we have now is we've just kind of, people can't make a single-player character here and everything. They don't have the time. It's a short demo. So we've kind of pre-made some characters for them to play. So they choose their class, and then they jump in and do 3v3 battles for essentially till their time's up.
Why those 3 classes?
I'm sorry?
Why those 3 out of the
They're
5?
the most developed, so they were the farthest along. So the arenas originally started with just the Barbarian and the Wizard. Because they were the first kind of 2 classes that we did. Even though we didn't announce them in that order, they were the first 2. And then we added the Witch Doctor actually specifically in preparation for BlizzCon.
Oh.
And we started to add the Monk, and we found we got a lot of work to do. So there were some things that we needed to change for that character, and also some things we needed to... Usually it's more of an adding thing when we add characters. We find that they're insufficient. They don't have the tool set that they need. So we tend to, rather than look at the skills and try and tone them down, instead we look at it and say, what are they missing? And so a lot of the times we end up actually tweaking or adding a lot to the skills or adding specific PvP skills for the arenas.
Are you going to be balancing it for like an esports type team gameplay, or is it just going to be for casual dueling like you mentioned?
Absolutely not for esports. Okay. StarCraft 2 has that covered.
Right.
We trust them. They've got it taken care of. For us, because PvE is our focus and we do not want PvP to drive the PvE game, we want it to be the other way around. We're going to accept the fact that it's not going to be an uber balanced game. It's not going to be an esport. But we can also accept, just like Diablo 2 was not, its PvP game was not super balanced. We do feel we can do a lot better than Diablo 2 did. And there were whole classes that were inviable, and we don't want that. But we do understand that there's going to be builds that are better and combos that are better, which is why we're focusing on team-based play, because it smooths over some of those rough edges. If you've got a build that's particularly weak against another build, your teammates can actually help you. So it's not just about, it's not about skill-based, it is about focusing on making the best possible character and the best possible team.
Makes sense?
Makes a lot of sense. All right, Jay, another question here. This comes from Gary on Twitter. And Gary, I don't think it's from Asia, but Gary said, will there be support for custom maps or modes within Diablo 3, at least for the PvP arena? Oh, it's from Scotland, actually. All right, so that's good. But yeah, so question, obviously custom maps, big thing in StarCraft 2. People love to make maps. Is that something you're going to allow people to do in Diablo 3 for PvP?
Right now, we don't have any support for custom mods. It's never been a focus of the game, primarily because so much of the game involves randomized content and procedurally generated content. It's not created in a kind of mod-friendly manner. Yep. So we decided to focus more on that than mods. That being said, from a standpoint of allowing people to customize the type of game they're going to play in PvP, there's some desire for that. We know 1v1 battles are not going to be balanced, but people are still going to want to do them.
Yeah.
And so, it's not our goal to say, oh, well, that's not going to be perfectly balanced, so no, you can't do it. We're trying to support everything players want to do, but we haven't determined exactly the method that we're going to do that.
Still decisions to be made.
Yes. Is randomized content going to make is randomized content going to take part in the PvP gameplay at all, or is it going to be a pre-made map with just real players on the
Right now, it's funny, we actually build the maps in kind of the same way we would build randomized content, but we do make preset maps for the arenas. We haven't found a lot of value in making kind of randomized. But we have thought about other modes where we could utilize more randomized content in a PvP manner. And so maybe in the future.
That'd be fun to enter into an arena battlefield and not be exactly sure what's you're going to face.
Have monsters in it.
Exactly. Exactly.
It'll be fun. So are you guys pretty, development of Diablo 3 has been going on for so many years. What is the current state of it? Are you guys sort of, are you content complete and now you're starting to test and balance, or where is the game at right now?
Well, we're getting very close to completing the core features of the game.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean we're done. For Blizzard, that means that we go into serious kind of iteration on all the content that we have. So a lot of it's there, but a lot of it's not good enough. Or doesn't flow well together, or is not as smooth and as accessible as we'd like. Right. And some areas like in-game is still something that we're focusing on and trying to figure out exactly what we want to do. So we're definitely pretty far along, but we've still got ways to go. More than halfway down, at least. More than halfway, I guarantee it.
Can you play the game from beginning to end right now? I mean, are you able to play that for years and years?
Yeah, you can play the game from beginning to end right now.
How long has it been like that?
Not very long.
Okay.
So, and some of it is like, I could say, yes, you can play the game, but like you walk in and a boss is like a big dude who just stands there and doesn't move, and you hit him once and it says, congratulations, you killed the boss. And so a lot of that stuff we put in place so that we can see how the game flows, and then we add in the elements later. So when I say we can play through, there are some really rough sections. It's not like it's all 100% done, and but you can actually walk from beginning to end.
All right, well, that's will make some people jealous that you've done that. Jay, hopefully you can stick around for just a second, because right now we are going to go to Chris Metzen. He's going to tell us what makes Diablo as a franchise so unique. Chris?
For the upcoming Diablo release, I've been looking forward to Diablo 3 for a very long time. It's actually it's in many ways my favorite franchise for Blizzard, which sounds crazy. because boy, do I love me some Warcraft and StarCraft. But I've always felt that Diablo had something very special with its kind of fantastical spin on this clash between this fictional heaven and hell, and the idea of mankind kind of struggling for redemption in the midst of this conflict seems very fertile for storytelling. And I think that innate idea that mankind is caught in the middle and is called on to become, be heroic in a fairly grim setting is very compelling. And this time around, we just decided very early on in the development process to push as resonant a story as we could find. The Diablo gameplay is fairly simplistic. You're clicking like a madman. And through the games we had published before, the storyline doesn't often run all that deep because the demands of gameplay, you want to move quick, you don't want to get caught in a bunch of exposition. So this time around, we've talked quite a bit about how to kind of layer in the story and really make the level of player immersion much deeper than in the past without really sacrificing the rate of gameplay. Along the lines of, how do we ensure that Blizzard's worlds and stories stay distinct amidst an industry that is getting better and better and better at just telling stories. And when I think about our games and I think about our franchises that are so deeply rooted in archetype, I wonder sometimes that just trying to chase clever, right? Trying to keep up with the Joneses in terms of the hottest new science fiction idea or hook or the best new, fantasy spin on a race or a place. There's always going to be someone down the street that is simply better than you. There's always going to be tough competition. I mean, that's just the nature of creative industries. And I wonder sometimes, I don't know if I'm getting too sentimental in my old age, but, as a dad and things like that, and not being the kid I was, working on this stuff, 17 years ago, I wonder sometimes that it really just comes down to the kind of art you're chasing. And I don't necessarily mean visually, but when you allow, your life experience, your emotionality, your heart to kind of bleed through the ideas, and don't get too bashful about that component of really putting yourself and extending yourself into the stories and the ideas you're chasing. I think that's where we will find our brand of distinction. I think that's part of the way that we will shine, down the line and help to keep our worlds, fresh and distinct through the lens of our own experience.
All right, well, that was Chris Metzany. Jay Wilson, he called it his favorite Blizzard franchise.
Yeah, mine too.
That works out really well.
Chris has always had really good taste, I've thought. He's
Well, Chris
10
brings
out of 10 first.
10 out of 10 for Chris.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he brings up a really good point, though. There's going to be, it's been a while since some people have played Diablo 2. There's some amazingly rich lore and story that you have, and I can only imagine the story that we're going to see in Diablo 3. For new players, do you have a plan in place to try to bring them up to speed with the story and get them prepared for the game before it comes out?
Well, for us, the focus from the beginning has always been to make sure that we make a game that, while it reflects what happened before, it tells its own unique story. So the story for Diablo 3 is fairly self-contained. Now, some of the early aspects of the game actually does have some history and from the previous games. It's why we added systems like the lore books I mentioned earlier, so that we could relay kind of what has come before. But the basic conflict in Diablo is so core, it's so primal, heaven versus hell with humanity caught in between, that we feel like as long as we stick to that core and we tell a simple but straightforward and really poignant story, that it doesn't matter that it's a sequel, that it can stand on its own.
Any hints as to what the conflict's going to be, or a little bit about the story that we're going to see?
Yeah, there's going to be demons in it.
Oh, interesting.
One of the
Maybe they'll get
Uber
hunted.
Diablo.
One of the big things that we like to talk about is that, the previous games have been about, one demon or a couple demons walking Sanctuary and just the havoc of them just being there that was created. Diablo 3, this is the first of the games where it's not one demon just kind of hanging out in Sanctuary or walking the planet. It's literally all of hell invading. This is all-out war on Sanctuary. Hell has seen the power that humanity has. They've seen what humanity can do. They've destroyed the three. And they're not taking any chances. They've decided to cut and run, and their philosophy is we're going to burn it all down. So, players really need to be ready for